Okay, live.
Ready to rock, are we?
We're ready to rock. On we go.
With our usual wait, someone confirm that they can hear us before we start spewing out golden content. So we could be waiting a while, like just absolute silence as people think. To be fair, it'd be one of the best podcasts we've done in a while if we all shut up.
Well, we didn't have to wait because this is the new fancy schmancy thing that we're using, so didn't have to worry about it. Basically, there's no way I can possibly make an arse of the audio on this one. So there we go. Folks in can hear us all good.
Oh well. I thought you were going to go and dive into talk about how this podcast is brought to you by TalkSport.
That gets added automatically in the audio version.
We didn't have to do any of those weird plugs.
Nah, man. All we have to do is make sure the logo is on the like the episode title, which it is, and then they insert that role at the start. There's nothing I can do to stop that because we're on their platform now. So, aye, brought to you by TalkSport for the second time today.
Well, let's get cracking. Ando, do you want to do the YouTube comments? Is that all right?
Aye, got it all in one place now, so all good.
No, magic. We've got loads to talk about. Hearts. One kind of erased or put to bed any fears of potential relegation playoff spots, although not mathematically done. Seems pretty likely that we'll talk about the Liam Fox League and how he's got us into. We're like top of the league, I think, can't we? Played 1-2. Like that's what that was. What the part was with Critchlow in it. Let's talk about the Fox League and if he should be considered for the role. We'll talk about the Hearts, the continued search for Hearts' new manager, the looming Bloom deal, if the internet is to be believed, and then just all things Hearts. Sound good?
Sure does.
Sounds depressing, but I'm in.
Why are you in a sauna as well? What are you doing?
It's fucking brilliant, eh?
This is his new man cave.
New man cave, mate. That's it.
Fun.
I'm going to get a small sauna in the corner, pig and spit on the other corner. Be all good, mate. We get. I'll invite you.
Nice. What's been happening, Kev, anyway?
Not a lot, mate. Not a lot. Enjoyed the bank holiday weekend. Hearts won for a change, which will come in due course. Went out in the piss all day yesterday. I woke up this morning without a hangover. Fucking winner.
That's the wonders of having a sauna, mate. Honestly, folks swear by it. It's class for a hangover. Like, just sweat it out you.
Perfect.
Ando, what's been happening?
Not much. I didn't have as exciting a bank holiday as Kev did. I had 2 beers and fell asleep on the couch at about 8:30, 9 o'clock last night. It was a complete disaster. And I don't get bank holidays off anymore because of changing my contract. So I have to work them. I get extra holiday days back, which is decent.
I was working a day too. Same.
Shite, yeah.
Shite. Well, if anybody's seen my antics on Friday, we can say welcome back to the Falkirk Bairns podcast. The Bairns are going up. I don't know. Did you see me get caught in 4K Ando on Friday night?
I didn't know. Is that championship coverage, I'm guessing?
I was on the telly, mate, on the park.
Amazing. And not for the first time in your career.
Mate, honestly, I could feel my phone absolutely going off its tits in my pocket. And I was like, I'm not even looking. I know exactly what's happened. I know exactly what's happened. And then as soon as I opened my phone, I've ended up on the front page of the paper. I was having the time of my life. It was class. So obviously,
I did get a couple of messages asking if Corbett's allegiances have changed.
I was getting absolutely battered. Seen it even made its way onto kickback and everything. People absolutely hammering me, which was funny. When we got there, it's no fancy in the slightest, right? Not like the players' lounge or the whatever you want to call it is. It's just a bar that's at the top of the stand, but it's a public bar. Everybody's allowed in it, type thing. So anyway, when we went in, they gave us a wristband thing and said that basically at full time, if they should win the league, basically what they'll do is family for like the pictures and the celebrations and all that stuff can stand at the side of the tunnel, so that the players can see them when they come out to get to lift the trophy and all that sort of stuff. So obviously the results and the way it was going, we knew that Falkirk were going to win the league, and obviously we were there with his mum, his kids, his wife, his auntie, his brother, his nephews, all that sort of stuff. So when it was getting towards full time, wife and mum and kids went down to the side of the tunnel, but his nephew was like, "Nah, no, Daniel, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go." And then obviously full time went, and everybody burst onto the pitch celebrating or whatever, and you could see that I was like telling him, I was like, "Do you want to go on the pitch?" I was like, "Come on, I'll take you down," or whatever. He's like, "Aye, let's go." So I took him down, walked onto the pitch, made my way to the tunnel, passed him on to family, and then went back up and into the stand. And then by the time I got back to my seat, my phone was red hot of people being like, "Are you running about you then knee slides on the pitch?" I was like, aye, that's me. Like, so there we go. It was fun and games. It was fun and games. And obviously the whole while I was utterly depressed because everybody had been telling me all the build up to that week that John McGlynn was going to be the new Hearts manager. And I was like, oh my God, please no. So there we go. Right. Would you want to talk about first? Talk about the football? Or will we talk about the
I'd like
more
to just call it
stuff, which is manager stuff?
Just to call out Dale, his comment on YouTube, absolutely bob on. Does this mean that comments are going to get read out now instead of being absolutely ghosted by Tam? See now the fucking bastard's not here.
Yeah, he's furious because Livy never went up.
They've got playoffs. Make money. They can make money on that.
Genuinely, he's in the Outer Hebrides. So it's going to take him about a fucking week to get back for wherever he is. So he'll probably not be here next week either. So yeah, just be thankful.
He's the size of the Outer Hebrides. That's so odd. I'm just kidding on Tom. Right, what do we want to do? We talk about the football, or will we talk about the manager stuff first? Get it out of the way.
Bollocks, getting into the manager stuff, it's more interesting.
Yeah. Well, so today I think Barry Anderson in the Evening News run with this story that basically there are two names under consideration, which is John McGlynn and Derek McInnes. You know what this is like. It's been rumour central. You've all probably had about 1,000 rumours off everybody. The rumour mill goes every single day. I've heard that we've approached Steve Clarke and been basically knocked back because of budget. He wanted about double what we were offering. And then obviously McGlynn has been the sort of the heavy runner. So what we do know is that we 100% spoke to him. We spoke to him after the semi-final defeat to Aberdeen, sounding him out as we would do. And then I believe that we've had conversations with him since, but it looks like it's maybe cooled off a little bit. And now the sort of noises coming around Derek McInnes. Any thoughts on either of the two names?
Well, I'd said last week that I want somebody that was a bastard. I think Derek McInnes fits that bill, but then to the same point I made last week, I think, which is I don't know if he fits in to the recruitment to Jamestown analytics thing that we've got going on just now. So I don't know. I think I'd quite like to take him. He knows the league. He's rough. I reckon he'd get a tune out of the players, but then I'd be all right with him. Steve Clarke, don't know. Thank God that's a non-starter. I don't think I could handle him, having him as the manager. And John McGlynn, I'm sure we'll cover in more detail shortly, but yeah, not for me.
Is that because you look like Steve Clarke? Somebody said that in the chat earlier on.
I'm
not wanting to get mistaken for him.
Okay, that's fine.
Wait, that's actually a belter. Here we go. We go for Paul Daniels' wee brother to Ando's doppelganger. Fantastic.
Bastards.
Kev, what's your thoughts?
I don't think, in all honesty, I don't think either of them fill you with a great deal of optimism as such. You always think, that the Hearts job is one of the biggest jobs in the country, and you want to have a big name, or you want to have somebody that's got maybe a bit of international European pedigree as such. We know perfectly well that's not the case, right? As we've said before, we're shopping in the middle aisle at Aldi. I think between the two that have been discussed, McInnes is definitely the one that I would be more in a line with. I would more agreement with the way in which he actually conducts himself. I think he would definitely make us difficult to beat. He would definitely know what actually managing the club is all about and what it means. So from that point of view, I would definitely be more aligned with McInnes over McGlynn in that world. But I also feel that are we rushing ahead with this when it's actually maybe not required, within a week of sacking, or 7 days, 8 days of sacking Critchley? Would we be better holding off and understanding, what anybody else or other members of who are maybe out of contract in a couple of weeks' time can maybe bring to the table? It's a bigger aspect.
Well, I think there's a need to get the manager in immediately because of pre-season.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the mess that we were in this season because of a very poor pre-season. We have Spain booked again. I was at Tynecastle on Thursday for a couple of meetings. One was about my 978th meeting about rope and pulley systems and safe standing and making Tynecastle a better atmosphere. And then I went to the Federation meeting later on, which I'll actually talk about. But we'll go to Spain. As it stands right now, we have no teams to play in Spain again. And then a week after we come back from Spain, we're immediately into the group stages of the League Cup. So we need somebody to dictate who we play, and as quickly as possible. So I think that's where the urgency is coming from.
I do get that bit.
How spitefully the club do you think it is that they bring in McInnes, treat him like utter shit, treat him like Stendhal, didn't give him any coaches, didn't give him nothing, just so they can sack him in 4 months and say, see, Corbett, get it fucking up you. Here's Robbie Nielsen, number 3. Robbie Nielsen, come on down with another Robbie Mark 3 for just to spite me because I've never shut up about Derek McInnes.
I just think it's maybe you're right about the whole pre-season. How do you want to set up all that kind of stuff? I think that's just generally a question that should be actually positioned to any potential manager themselves to say, what is, how would you set up for pre-season, given that we have to be back in a pre-season by something like the 1st of July, because your first game is going to be the 10th of July or whatever it may be. I can't remember what the League Cup dates are, but I think I just feel that sometimes we rush things too quickly and too much. And maybe it's better to actually take a step back, evaluate who is actually interested in the job and what can they bring, to the club to take us on.
Well, I think that's probably why they've decided the noises coming out of everybody, the rumour mill, but also Barry Anderson today, is that the preferred candidate now is a Scottish manager or a manager with Scottish football experience. And I'll imagine that that's to try and navigate any banana skins or whatever in the League Cup. Whoa, when did we get to do that?
What the fuck is that?
I've just been playing about in the background, so whenever anyone makes a comment, I can click a button and it goes onto the screen.
Well, I understand that, Xander. It's a good point. Honestly, pre-watching Falkirk since February, I'd have pretty much been, what do you call it? I'd have potentially been pretty all right with John McGlynn coming in. Obviously, Scotty's there at Falkirk, talks nothing but highly about him, thinks he's amazing, thinks his coaching's brilliant, the way he plays football is superb, thinks he would do an amazing job at Hearts, loves Hearts. For day one, him and Cole Donaldson talk about Hearts all the time. That's what they talk about. I believe he lives in Edinburgh. He's a little bit of a Hearts man. But having watched Falkirk, when they play well, they play well. but when they're struggling, or they play a low block, or when they run out of ideas, it's a carbon copy of what we watch week in, week out at Hearts. It's the centre halves on the ball constant. Yes.
Right, that is a one and done. That's not happening again. It's like,
Although he's done that like cowabunga thing, so it negates anybody calling anybody a wank, because that's the height of wankness. That, yeah, dude, yeah. But anyway, having watched John McGlynn's team, honestly, it is a carbon copy. The only noticeable difference for me is how high and wide he plays as wingers, which we've obviously been something that we've been absolutely calling out for ages. So pre that, I would have been all right. Now I'm a bit hesitant, just purely because of the style. It's very reminiscent of Hearts, and then also if you factor in the fact that, did John McGlynn lose the semi-finals, Kev? We lose was it Gary Locke, and Gary Locke, one John McGlynn? Did he lose one of the semi-finals to like St Mirren or whatever it was, or was it Cali, one of the Cali Thistle games?
It was one of the Cali games he lost, and then he won the other one on penalties, of which we then went to the final and maybe got beat by St Mirren in the final. What I like to call
Gary Locke, it was a manager.
Aye, but that's what I'm saying. So John McGlynn was the manager at the semi-final, but had lost his job by the final.
Right, okay. So we, and again, people that I spoke to, he's known as a bit of a bottler. And then obviously there were 11 points in front of Livingston at one point, and won basically on Friday by winning their own game, but Livingston losing as well. So that would be the only thing really that would be a bit worried when it came to the John McGlynn thing. Derek McInnes, I'm all in for. Honestly, everything I look at Hearts, I get it, I understand. It's no vogue, it's no fancy, but then honestly, for the last 11 years, that's all we've heard is identity and style and all that sort of stuff. And to be honest with you, I just want Hearts to be well organised. That's all I want. That is all that I want. He takes on, as we've just said there, I think he wins a game against the Old Firm almost every single season. His record at Aberdeen was phenomenal. His record against Hibs is pretty phenomenal as well. I get the watching the same thing on repeat is what kills me with Hearts. It's just watching us do the same thing wrong week in, week out, not changing, not adapting. And I don't think we would get that with McInnes. Just one of those comments that you just flashed up there said about Jamestown, no way came up with those names. That's one of the ways that people get this wrong sometimes when it comes to Jamestown, is it's not everything that comes out the supercomputer. It's not the way that it works. You use that to like filter it through. So they'll have put criteria in that they need, it would have generated the list of candidates, but they can also go to the computer and say, right, chuck Kevin, chuck Ando in. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can run them through the system as well to see how they settle and how they score and all that sort of stuff. So I don't think it's specifically we've went to the supercomputer, put it in, and then it's produced this list of people and John McGlynn and Derek McInnes at the top of it. I think that the club have probably went, actually, do you know what? I want specifically a Scottish manager that's managing in Scotland, that's got experience in Scotland, and they've picked the names that they've wanted and chucked it through the systems. So that's what it is. Derek McInnes, I get it. Honestly, I do. I understand that it ended pretty poorly up at Aberdeen, but when you look at what we're trying to do player trading. He rejuvenated that squad every 18 months nearly when his best players were sold. Kevin McKenna, Sam Cosgrove, or whatever he was called. Like, they turned over players and made big money. He also brought youth players through. The Lewis Ferguson came through and was sold on. So he ticks the box for what we want. And again, he just gets it. And that ability to break that cycle of plan B is to do plan A better, mix it up, play for set plays, play for corners, play for throw-ins. That's what Scottish football is. That you watched the Old Firm yesterday, and the football was all right, but it was end to end. It was constantly forward passing, forward throw-ins, win a corner, defend it, they run up the park, win a corner, defend it, run up the park, win a corner. It was that's what football in Scotland is. This sort of slow, laborious, take a touch, pass, don't miss a play route, don't skip the passing, don't skip a touch. All that stuff is, I just want Hearts to be what we all kind of, and I hate that word, identify Hearts to be, which is well organised, fit, disciplined, and hard to beat. That's all I care about. So, out of those two names, Derek McInnes fits that bill. If you're looking for much of muchness as to what we've already seen in terms of playing style, again, John McGlynn's got a great pedigree of developing young players as well. John McGlynn's your guy if you want use the same system that we have now. So it's kind of where we're at.
I can't disagree with everything you've said. As many people have said in various group chats and WhatsApp and probably on YouTube as well tonight, neither of them just don't give you that sort of borderline, oh, this could be interesting kind of thing. They're not the names that you would probably have hoped for, let's put it that way. You want an exotic name to an extent, but I fully understand why he will show positively, or both of them will show positively under the analytics system. Do you think that McInnes as an individual would be happy to work with the analytics? Or do you think that doesn't even come into the equation?
So I spoke to Sked the other night, Joel Sked, about just random stuff anyway. We're talking about stuff. And he'd said that Derek McInnes, when the summer that we appointed Stephen Naismith as the manager, his agent had reached out to say that he would take the job. He'd be not take the job, but he'd be interested in the job. He'd be willing to talk to the club about it. That was obviously pre-Jamestown. Anybody that knows Derek McInnes knows that he has a sort of desire to manage a big club. I'm not saying that that's not me being derogatory to Kilmarnock or whatever it is, but he wants to get back in at a big club. Listen to any of Derek McInnes' interviews about Hearts and playing at Tynecastle and us as fans and all that sort of stuff. He never, ever shuts up about how good it is, how much we back the team, how much he enjoys playing at Tynecastle. And again, through Scotty being in and around Rangers at game days, when McInnes has been doing commentary and co-coms and meeting them at different events and all that sort of stuff, it's said that he's always spoke very highly about Hearts and how he would love to get that job. He comes in, like I said, he's got a great record with the Old Firm. He's got a very, very good record against Hibs, and he'd have a burning desire to get one over Aberdeen as well, given how it ended there and his relationship there or whatever. So Derek McInnes is the no-brainer for me. I think he'd work with Jamestown, absolutely no bother at all, because again, if you actually think of what let him down when he was at Aberdeen, it was player trading in terms of selling his best players from out from underneath him and then bringing in the next lot. And that's Xander is the one there. That's the thing that I'm the most worried about, if I'm being honest with you. From what I understand of Anne Budge in the background, again, I didn't know what I promised when I come back podcast, and I wasn't going to turn it into saying the same stuff on repeat every week, right? But I know that Anne Budge is a control freak. I know that Anne Budge has a say in almost absolutely every single thing that happens in the football department. I know that there are people in the background of the football club that are desperate for change due to the fact that, she's all over every single decision that's to do with football, whether it's managers, whether it's players, whether it's contracts, all that sort of stuff. She's front and centre of all of it. And that would be whoever comes in, she would want to have that relationship where she could speak to the manager in terms of, given their ideas or whatever it is that she wants on. And I don't know if that's the type of thing that Derek McInnes would go for. But again, they don't have to like each other. I don't really care if it's successful in the park. I don't care if they like each other or whatever it is. All I care about is that we're good on the park, that we're hard to beat, and that we're well set up and well drilled. And I think that Derek McInnes ticks the boxes for that. But I've said that to you about 1,000 times, so I didn't want to keep labouring the point. So we spoke there about the people that are on the list according to the rumours and the evening news. Is there anybody that you would like to see that hasn't been mentioned? Any names get you excited or think that we should be got to look at?
I don't think so. I think, to be honest, just listening to you for the last 10 minutes, I think outlining everything, I don't think, like, forgetting all the off the field stuff with relationship with Budge and how that might be a problem or whatever, or the Jamestown thing, then no, I'm sold. I think it makes sense. I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head that we could afford that'd be better than him. Genuinely.
I think a lot of the other names that have been popped about across the media and across various other rumour channels, they're all risky. They're all a risk at the end of the day. The boy from, I think he's been at USG in Belgium. He's also managed in France as well. I think he's Slovenian or Slovakian. He's a risk. The boy from the Swedish boy, is it Hallberg is a risk. All these guys are risks. To an extent, so is McInnes, but he's a more calculated risk, given that he understands Scottish football. He knows what it is to probably manage the club. And from that point of view, the football might not be the kind of football that we want to see, but he steadies the whole ship. We get to a point where we are consistent. We become probably hard to beat. That's the other side of it that we probably don't look at enough times. We always want to see the flair, we want to see the passion, and we want to see wins. But you can win ugly with a McInnes kind of setup, if you know what I mean. Yeah. He's done it with Kilmarnock, let's be honest.
Well, like you said, they went down to 10 men after 8 minutes against us at Rugby Park and beat us. Yeah, I mean, something like, and I've said that before. Ryan Scatler just made a great point about where we're at in terms of, I don't know if the board. So obviously they've made inroads with McGlynn. There'd been talks there, and I don't know if the negative reaction to it or the sort of the muted reaction to that appointment potentially coming to fruition, and the board maybe U-turn to think, no, we need something that will galvanise everybody back around the club and take the heat off of them. Because again, I seen people were talking about, obviously the board get it stinking on Saturday from the fans, and I think they'll get it stinking again this Saturday at home by the fans, because I think, like we've said loads and loads of times before, once you can get away with it, twice maybe, but we've had too many times of this now where people are starting to click on that actually changing manager isn't going to solve everything. We're going to need some radical changes above. Now the rumour is that that's coming imminently. It looks, for all intents and purposes, that the Bloom deal is done. Circa £10 million investment. He's looking to have a man on the board, and potentially for no sort of lack of not diluting any of the foundation shares, but we'll wait and see where that goes. So the air of sort of, it'd be really quick and easy to get some positive vibes around the club again. If you make an appointment that seems sensible, and I think that there'll be Hearts fans out there that don't want McInnes because of the style and all that stuff, which I totally and utterly get, but they will probably be like, actually, do you know what, that's a pretty sensible decision for where we are right now. Let's stop gaslighting each other talking about splitting the old firm and all that stuff. Let's stop being a yo-yo club. Let's fix that first. How many times have we spoke about it on here? Every 17 to 18 months, people say, oh, you finish third, then we finish fourth. That fourth season is an anomaly because we were 11 points in front of Aberdeen and totally and utterly collapsed. So people can say, yeah, but you finished fourth. Actually, we needed a draw on the last game of the season to stop us from finishing fifth. We were light years ahead. We were miles in front. And then collapsed. And it didn't just, and that's what's wrong, is that when things go wrong, they go catastrophically wrong. Do you know what I mean? It's never just a bump in the road. It's never a blip. It's always, what did we go, 8 games without a win? I think we got beat 8 games in a row under Robbie Neilson, which finally got him the sack. I said on Sportsound on Saturday about Critchley, after the Dundee United game, and it was in our hands to win, given that they set Critchley the target when he came in, which for us was too easy a target, if you're asking me my honest opinion, given what our City rivals have went on to do when, like we've said 1,000 times before, when James Wilson equalised in the 86th minute at Easter Road, that goal put Hibs bottom of the league. They're now 3 points clear with 4 games to go. 3 games to go, actually, isn't it? In the battle for third. So again, we don't have any excuses, but we set Critchley the target of non-negotiable. We have to finish in the top 6. We have a home game at Tynecastle, which can seal our fate and get us into the top 6 and keep us in the argument for European football. Like St Mirren are now back into the argument for potentially sneaking into a European football space. He failed to do that. He should have been sacked after Dundee United because he failed us, to safeguard us from failing not only his ambition or target, but our non-negotiable was to finish in the top 6. Look at the reaction on Saturday, although the performance, it wasn't free-flowing football. We went back to basics. We played Shankland as a number 9. We played him as a striker. We played him through the middle. He scores 2 goals and getting an assist. It's no rocket science what Liam Fox did, but again, he could have done that after the Dundee United game. We could have went to Motherwell and seen our performance. Could have sacked him after Motherwell. Well, he failed completely his objective for the season and tried to get ourselves into the Scottish Cup final. We didn't, and that's that bit there where Robbie loses 1, loses 2, loses 3, loses 4, loses 5, loses 6, loses 7, loses 8. It's like, how long does this go on for? It's the same with Stephen Naismith at the start of the season. How long was it going to go on for until fans had to react? And again, it's that stuff where if we react quicker, had a bit of ruthlessness about us, then we could safeguard against this happening again. And that's that bit that I think Derek McInnes fixes in the short term, is that he takes the peaks and troughs away, and if it balances out that we'd finish no lower than 4th for 2 or 3 seasons in a row, brilliant. If he can get us to finish 3rd consistently, even better. But again, what are we? Daniel Stendhal's 2 wins versus Rangers are like the last wins that we had in Rangers. Something like no wins in 30 games versus Rangers. We've had obviously the sort of iconic 4-0 v Celtic, and then the two games that we won last season with them, but we barely lay a glove on Celtic. We've not won in Aberdeen for decades, and I think he fixes all that. So that's where we're at. Right. What else are we talking about? So I went to the Federation meeting on Thursday, and again, one of the things, there was 2 things discussed, but one I'll keep just now until they decide what they want to do with it. But one of the ones that stuck out, and it's just, again, it kind of just shows you where the club is that the club wrote to the Federation to say that basically going forward and from now on, the club will not make players available for Player of the Year events or supporter club events because at some point somebody was mean to one of the players at one of the events. which I think when you look at where we're at as a club, that's pretty pathetic, isn't it? The players can't front up to the people that one pledge and own the club, but also travel up and down the country week in, week out, spend their hard-earned money to follow a football club, and players or the club don't want them to show up to Dander Hall Hearts Player of the Year dance, accept a wee trophy and pose for a few pictures. It's pretty pathetic stuff, innit? And it just shows, for me, it just drives the contempt that the board and the club seem to have towards the owners of its football club.
I mean, that just shows you a level of softness within the club itself, and that runs from the boardroom to the players. We spoke about that on numerous occasions. That we do have that sort of soft streak within us, and it's crazy. I mean, I've got a number of these different supporters clubs end of the year, and it's always been nice to meet with ex-players at times, but also current players, and get their opinions in regards to how the season's actually panned out. Where could they have done better? What could they have done differently? I think it's a great opportunity for the club and the players at the club to actually interact with the fans. But this is something that we've spoken about on a number of occasions. And there's been bits where it's actually got better, but we are, seems to be dropping away again. Is that element of where the actual club are to where the fans are, and that is they are at total opposite ends of a spectrum at this moment in time. I think under Savage things were maybe looking positive for a short period of time, and I mean short. But again, we've gone to that point where there's a massive cavern of discontent between where we are as fans and where the club believe and the board believe they actually should be.
So, Ando, just that they're not stopping the players going to hospitality, or the sponsors' events, or the shareholders' meetings, the people that pay £150 a ticket. They're allowed to abuse the players any way they want. You'll have seen all the viral videos of Scott Wilson and his famous shh, because people in the hospitality suites are booing Shankland or shouting abuse at Craig Gordon or whatever. So if you pay £150 for a ticket, you can abuse the players. But if you're part of a supporters club and are looking for the players to show up to your event for free, then you're no longer going to get access to the players. Pretty pathetic, isn't it?
It is. It just makes it. They're just losing touch with reality. I think it's like if you think about years gone by, like that pub that's in Dedridge, on the east side of Dedridge, near just across the road. Aye, that's the one. I didn't care how many times that there's been Hearts players in there. Win, lose or draw. Like, remember Jim Hamilton and Neil McCann turning up after we'd been scudded off somebody. And, okay, fair enough, there was comments and stuff like that, but it was never, like, hostile or anything like that. Like, I don't think the players need to be protected from the paying public, because they're there because we pay our money and watch them week in, week out. And okay, fair enough. If you're going to get right up in a player's face and be a complete dick to them, then that's unacceptable. But to shield the players for something like that, just because it might be a little bit bad, I think that is pathetic. I don't see why you would do it.
And you'll go to these things like in the supporters clubs, they'll be well warned before players come to say, listen, it's a privilege that these guys are going to show up, treat them fairly, be nice to them, all that sort of stuff. Like you said, no one's going into these bits and getting absolutely hammered. Do you know what I mean? So I found that pretty poor. Stop flashing the comments up, because it puts me off what I was about to say. What was I going to say? One, I remember being at one of the plot ceremonies, and I sat next to Cammy Devlin, and he asked what this was all about. He was like, because we were talking, I can't remember what we were talking about. We were talking about one of the displays we did for the Ultras or something, and then he was asking about what's this all about, and I was like, this is everybody in here as a pledger or whatever. So we set up like a monthly direct debit and we give the club X amount of money. And if you get to a certain milestone because you've donated X amount of money, you get a certificate, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, that's really cool or whatever. And I was like, aye, that's really something you should know. Like, I shouldn't have to be sitting here telling you that at a plot ceremony. Like, that should be drilled into you for the minute that you join the club. Now, he might have just been making small talk because it's awkward as hell, and he's sitting there, he got stuck at our table and he's listening to other people talk, so he might have just been trying to make small talk or whatever, but it genuinely felt like it was one of those things that he didn't really have a clue what was going on. And I just find, like I said a thousand times before, the disconnect between fans and what they do is massive. And I think that was highlighted last Sunday. What is it? It's Monday, isn't it?
Monday.
So whenever the Player of the Year award was with the Anne Budge comments. Now, that's people, that shouldn't shock people. That's what she gets like when she's backed into a corner or when she's been forced to do something that she doesn't like. Cast your mind back to when she was giving us that patronising interview on the BBC saying basically the real fans won't question her because she's sticking by Craig Levein and all that, the type of stuff, the disdain that she had in her voice when she spoke about us then. And then obviously the fact that that was a flippant comment as she was going in because she'd been forced to get rid of that manager, a manager that she would happily have kept in the job because she doesn't like doing what she's been asked to do. Because again, I've said before, I've sat in front of them, they think that we're ungrateful in terms of what more do you want? You know, you finished fourth last season and we got to a semi-final and you still moan what more can I do? And it's that thing that just, there's just a resentment there. They just don't like when they make a mistake, they get really defensive because they don't want to admit that they did something wrong, because we're just idiots that boo and scream and shout week in, week out. They know better. And that was what you seen ripping out of them walking into the Player of the Year award and the, you know, oh, that's yesterday's news stuff. Completely and utterly disrespectful to Neil Critchley, but just really disrespectful to us too. It was embarrassing. That was Sky Sports News. They'd obviously told all the players before they got off that bus or when they were in the team hotel or wherever they were before they went there. There's reporters outside. Don't say anything. Don't say a word. And they all did that. Folk went mental because Shankland was kind of smirking as the guys were dodging, walking into poles and trying to get into things to ask them questions about it. He came out and apologised for it, saying it was a bad look. Nothing from the board. Absolutely nothing. We had no thanks to Neil and his team. Just really sorry it didn't work out. We're going to make sure we get this one right. Or nothing. They just left it, and then they've put Liam Fox out in front of the media on the Thursday with no statement as to what's happening, why it happened, what were the mistakes, what went wrong, what was said. They've just wheeled him out to stand there as a patsy in front of the media and try and deflect questions about what's going on. Just no accountability or no consideration for us as fans yet again. And again, I'll finish my wee ranting here about one of the, because it just popped into my head about when I said I was at my 976 meeting about rope and pulley systems and making Tynecastle better, and just the sort of disconnect between player, club and fans when we're talking about making atmosphere better. I said for big games, everybody will have watched Liverpool win the league last week and will have seen the scenes pre-game as the team bus drove from the training centre or the team hotel or whatever it is to Anfield, and thousands of people lined the street of the bus route. Flares were going off, smoke bombs were going off, flags are being raised, singing, all that sort of stuff to welcome the team bus to Anfield. I said, that's what we should do. That's what we should do. We should make if you look at any of the videos, Celtic team going to Celtic Park, every week that they're at home, the team arrive to Celtic Park in a team bus and they're welcomed down what they call the Celtic way or whatever. Fans are all lined up down the side of it. They get a massive cheer, a massive whatever, smoke bombs and all that sort of stuff going off to welcome the team to their home stadium type thing. And again, I flash my mind back to when we played Celtic in the COVID season in the cup final. our club was actively telling us, don't go to Glasgow, stay away from the stadium, follow the protocols, don't come to Gorgie, all this sort of stuff. Celtic were welcomed to Hampden with thousands of fans outside, setting off smoke bombs and all that stuff. And then we're welcomed back to Glasgow with loads and loads of stuff. And that's where, so I said that to the club. I said, that's what we should do. We should get the team bus, tell us what the route is. I'll get fans. We can advertise it here on the podcast or whatever to be like, the team bus is going to get to the Wheatfield entrance or whatever you call it, Gerrard's Yard, or it's going to stop on McLeod Street, put barriers down the side, and the players can walk through the main entrance, the main stand into the changing rooms that way or whatever. And they said no, because they'd be worried about the safety of the players and the players getting a fright, so they wouldn't do it. Plus, you're not allowed to set off smoke bombs or whatever. It's a criminal offence, so they wouldn't do it. And I'm like, okay, cool. So
my mate's worried he had a gender reveal party the other week there for his missus, the baby. They're worried. They're worried the paws are going to come round because they set off a blue smoke bomb in the back garden.
Keir Starmer will have him in jail. Like,
I don't want to name names or anything like that, but yeah, there we go.
Well, some of on the grass line might get some money. There's no way Tam's had this whole. There's absolutely no way.
Can you imagine Tam as a dad?
Oh. There's no way Tam's had this whole. He'd be breastfeeding him. That'd be equal. He's a progressive man.
He's going to kill us one of these days. He's just going to turn up to a game with a Glock and just shoot us all.
No chance. Absolutely.
There's more chance of Tam turning up to the fucking game with a clock. Never mind a Glock.
He'd apologise to us. Send us Yankee Candle gift baskets to say sorry for being angry with us. Well, anyway, there we go. Actually, I'm not even joking. If Hearts appoint, just to, because I know that might have seemed really doom and gloom there, but if Hearts appoint Derek McInnes, I'll be absolutely fucking buzzing. I will be so happy if Hearts appoint Derek McInnes. So there you go. There's my opinion on it right now. Anything else happened in the world of Hearts before we move on to the game on Saturday?
No. The club have been pretty quiet in regards to any announcements, which is probably understandable given last Sunday night's display outside the EICC, as you say. But went into the game on Saturday with what they've said is they had a change in the way in which they structured training, which I thought was quite interesting. But nobody expanded on that particular detail at all.
Yep. Well, I think we'd said before, Penrith had said on Open Goal that basically the training changes every single week depending on who we're playing, which again is like Real Madrid, PSG, Arsenal, Man City type stuff when you've got the greatest players on planet Earth and you're playing against the greatest teams on planet Earth or whatever. We should never, ever have to do any of that stuff. We should have the same message week in, week out. So I'm not surprised that they were the quick and easy changes that Liam Fox had come in. I already told you that I spoke to a senior player at a Falkirk game. Well, not a senior player, a first team player at a Falkirk game who said that basically training was a mess and Critchley's a waffler and most of the boys just listen to what Liam Fox has to say anyway because they've played in the B team and all that sort of stuff and he made the messages simple. So not surprised. So there we go. That took us to Saturday. We played Ross County and Dingwall. We won 3-1. Lawrence Shankland back in the team, back in the goals. Anything catch your eye pre-game on Saturday, boys?
None of the new signings in the team at all.
Aye.
Yep. I think that was probably the biggest highlight was that all Jamestown either were on the bench or not even in the first 16 or whatever there is nowadays, which I thought was quite interesting. I was also surprised. Was Devlin, was he banned from playing or was he from yellow cards? Or I just found it really strange for Devlin not to be in the team at all on Saturday.
I think they said that he was ill.
Okay. I've never seen that bit, but that was probably, from my point of view, I think that was the only strange decision in the starting lineup, was that Devlin wasn't there, when you consider that the expectation is that Ross County are pretty tiresome, and they work pretty hard in that midfield to win balls and everyone else, and Devlin being in there would have probably helped Benny, because I thought at some points he was a wee bit isolated. But anyway.
Do you think there's anything to read into the fact that not a single Jamestown or January transfer was in the starting 11 on Saturday?
Don't know. The conspiracy theorists will go mental and say, aye, that they're all dog meat and Fox doesn't fancy them or whatever. But nah, I don't know. It's maybe just a coincidence. I'd say, but who knows?
Yeah, I think there's some of them that deserve to be dropped. For example, Kabangu. I think he's played in there purely because Shankland hasn't been scoring goals, and we've got no one else. Given the shape and the way we were trying to play in the previous setup, we've talked before that he can score goals, but actually he's not the finished article, if we're putting it politely. He's got lots of areas to improve in his game. James Wilson as well is young. He's had loads and loads of exposure this year, and burnout for young players and the atmosphere around the club and stuff like that. So there were people that needed to be dropped. I don't think it was much as a surprise that Frankie Kent and Craig Halkett are the best centre halves at the club. I don't think that would shock anybody. Craig Halkett's the best defender that we have. That's either a damning indictment of where the team is, or it's props to Craig Halkett because he is a genuinely good defender. But we just look a better team when Craig Halkett's in it. So not really surprised there. And then the people that have kind of struggled, Khartoum has definitely struggled when he's played, but also finished a season, has had no pre-season, has come to a league that he doesn't know, which is a step up from the league that he played in before. There's an argument to say that actually of everybody should have been drip fed into the squad and maybe managed a little bit better than what he has been. So I don't think there's too much to read into it, Kev, but it was a bit eye-opening, especially with the fact that they brought Barry Mackay back to the bench as well, which I found absolutely bananas.
Oh, can you imagine? I was offered a lift up on Saturday, but chose for personal reasons, just it wasn't the right thing to do and everything else. But if I had have travelled up to Dingwall, got to what would have probably been about Aviemore, maybe Inverness, found out that Barry Mackay was on the bench and had a potential chance of getting on the pitch, I would have been devastated. I would have told the boy to just didn't bother. 3-point turn, let's go back down the road. And that's nothing other than the fact that you knew perfectly well by going up to Dingwall you needed, and this might be part of the whole Jamestown thing and those particular players not being in the starting 11. You knew perfectly well it was going to be a fight. It's always a battle, whoever the manager is at Ross County, they've always made sure that they're difficult to break down, difficult to beat. They know perfectly well they're not the best team in the league, but they know perfectly well that if they battle and they give 100% every single game, they'll make it difficult for whoever. And for some or whatever reason, maybe going back to what we said earlier on, a lot of our players or some of our players are quite soft in the way in which they go into games and when they go into tackles and things like that. That can be a massive element. But yeah, I think all in all, I think the team out with that element of Devlin, from my point of view, picked itself. It's one case that maybe Fox just went, I know perfectly well I can trust these guys. I know what I'm going to get from them. I know perfectly well that if I play them in the positions that they are here at the club to play in, I'll get the best out of them, and I've got a better chance of winning the game.
Would I'd be right in thinking or saying that Alan Forrest will be the club's top goal scorer outside of Shankland that's currently at the club right now. Obviously, Gino scored loads of goals, but he's not at the club. I think Alan Forrest is probably the top goal scorer outside of Shankland. I'd be willing to put money on that he would be in the squad currently. The only person I think would maybe be Cabango that would be close to him potentially for scoring goals.
Vargas got double figures last season.
Oh yeah,
maybe
maybe actually I forgot about Kenny.
So
anyway,
Vargas might be a one that would push. I think maybe over the seasons at Forest, maybe sitting at maybe 13 or 14 goals. So it might be close. Ando, you might be able to give us a better indication as to who the out with Shankland and who's still at the club, who is the next top goal scorer, because I know you keep all that kind of stuff.
I do, but I don't have it to hand.
I wasn't saying that as Alan Forrest, when we're looking to move the squad on and all that stuff, Alan Forrest would be one I would say that I'd say thanks for everything, but it's time to move on. But my point has been that Alan Forrest, most people seen his name on the starting 11 on Saturday and went, oh, fuck's sake, what are we doing? But he's Ronseal, right? He does exactly what he says in the tin. He's going to blaze them over the bar. He's going to make wrong passes. He's going to make bad decisions. But he also can score a goal, so make a pass. And he'll always take his man on, and that's something that we miss completely. Vargas has obviously got a game because he's got pace. You need that with Shankland in his sort of where he is in the team, and how sad is that? Like 10 goals, 10 goals each,
10 league goals.
That's like that's the top goal scorers outside of Lauren Shankland. But yeah, that's actually to get with Alan Forrest. Do you know what I mean?
Your next one actually is even worse. So I think there might be a player with 11 goals.
Thank you, Kent. Own goal.
Own goals. Own goals.
Could be that.
The one player I think who has 11 league goals over the Kingsley.
Right.
4 in 2021, 6 in 21-22, and then 1 in 23-24.
Yeah, got whoever comes in as manager, that's a big thing. Goals around the team is something that needs picked up on, because we're not going to have Shankland next season. I don't know how many goals he's got for Hearts now. Must be in the 60s or 70s, I'd imagine, or close to 60 actually, maybe. But
I'm sure it's like at the base 2 at the weekend. I think it's like 65. I think roughly off the top of my head, it'll be there or thereabouts.
So you're looking at someone that averages 20 goals in the 3 seasons that he's been with us. Well, you're not gonna replace that. So we need goals.
No budget.
No, and we need goals in the team. We need people that can pitch in, that can score. We need midfielders that can score massively. It's such a glaringly big part of our team that's missing, alongside pace. But is threatening a goal from midfield is something that we are absolutely desperate for. And again, talk about Falkirk on the Friday night. They needed goals and they scored 3 goals, and all 3 of them came from their wingers. They came from midfielders being willing to get up there and support and score and shoot and all that stuff. It's huge. It's huge in the game that we play. We need goals in the team massively. So Alan Forrest didn't have the greatest game. Hearts didn't play amazingly well on Saturday, but they did what they needed to do. I alluded to it at the start. Shankland played in his position, and guess what? He scored 2 goals. He missed a couple of chances, created a goal. Again, last week we lose at home to Dundee. Lauren Shankland doesn't play, and we look an absolute mess. Lauren Shankland does play, and we seem a bit more coherent, a bit more tied together than what we do. Yeah, I know that people are annoyed with him. I know that he looks out of shape. I know they're annoyed that he's going to leave for a free, and they're potentially upset that he was videoed at Ibrox at a European game or whatever it is. But you have to acknowledge that when he goes, we are going to be a worse team without him. We've played pretty much all season without him, and look at where we are. We've needed to the fourth last game of the season to basically mathematically rule ourselves out of being relegated. He is going to be, he's a massive, massive, massive player for Hearts. Huge player for Hearts. And Saturday just underpinned that for me.
It asks another question. You lose Shankland. There are chances, or there are talk that Gordon goes as well, which is probably understandable. So that's your club captain and that's your match day captain, both gone out of the team. Who in the current setup would you actually turn around and say, "There's my captain"? That to me is another
Benny.
element. Like Benny would be mine. The only thing, of course, is keeping Benny 100% fit.
Yeah,
but yes, I agree with you.
Well, you've got depends on who as well. But Benny talks very honestly. I don't know if that translates into how he trains or how he is in the changing room. Frankie Kent, Craig Halkett, Cammy Devlin. I wouldn't be against it, but yeah, it's a big thing. And look, everybody will have heard the rumours, and I've spoken to Shankland myself, and heard them say the things about some of the characters in the changing room. They crumble under pressure. They crumble under the pressure of what it is when they're being shouted at, or when the fans are on their back, or if our teammates on their back. And again, that's that stuff that we need. Characters. We need characters. We need a team of players that can dish it out but can take it as well, and aren't scared to be nasty, aren't scared to be horrible, aren't scared to upset a teammate to make sure that we win or whatever it is. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. Go to the Craig Gordon one as well. I think he's testimonial year, isn't it? Is that?
It should be, but nothing's been mentioned.
Yeah, I think it's coming, Kev. I'm not going to ruin it, but yeah, there will be a testimonial for Craig Gordon in the summer. The fifth match day of the League Cup campaign, which we won't be playing. We'll play the first four, and then obviously because it'll be teams of five or whatever, we'll get a week. We get a week off or a fixture off or whatever, and we'll play a home game against a team that he used to play for. And that'll be easy to deduce who, because one of the teams he used to play for absolutely will not be the team that we'll be playing. But it looks like we're going to do that. I don't know if that means I don't know if that means that he's going to get a new contract, or if he'll leave in this summer and that'll be our chance to say bye or whatever. I don't know. We'll need to hear pretty soon, because the season finishes in 3 games. But it's a big rebuild in the summer. I think we're going to see a lot of players leave. I don't necessarily want to see loads of players come in. I've said before that the squad's too big. It's far too big for it to be competitive. So we need quality over quantity this transfer window, where we're at. But so Saturday, sloppy goal we conceded. But to be fair, just as it's been this season, isn't it? I don't think any of us were surprised to see that Ross County took the lead. It's been the story of our season. Actually grew into the game. We're starting to create and miss gilt-edged chances. And then, lo and behold, we sloppy in the middle of the park, and they score and go 1-0 up. Kind of the story of our season, isn't it?
Aye. It's one of them. See, when you, because I wasn't watching it live, but I was listening on the radio. And John Robertson, who was a correspondent, was just saying, it's all Hearts, it's all Hearts, it's all Hearts. And then all of a sudden, County are 1-0 up. I'm like, aye, shock. Right? Just shook my head, went, got another beer, and then just turned it off. I was like, here we go. But then got the alert through to say it was an equaliser, and then I turned it right back on again. So, but aye, call me a fair weather fan all you like. I don't care. But aye, it's not surprising in the slightest.
Yeah, it's been the story of our season. That's what it is. So it was good to see us actually react positively and get back on the front foot, back doing what we did well. There's still that element of our play that's very safe. Take a touch, knock it about the back, etc., etc. But we did create chances, and again, when they're falling, they fall to the guy that you want them to fall to, which is Shankland. We've seen how many times this season have you seen gilt-edged chances fall to Vargas or to Cabangu or to Wilson or Musa or whoever, and you're thinking, I wish that was Shankland. Like, I wish it was Shankland that these were falling to. And a lot of the goals he scored last season, he created them and scored them himself. But this season, these are the ones that you've been thinking, just give him something in front of the goal, like a cut back, or put him one-on-one with the goalkeeper, give him something that he can get his eye into and get into a bit of a rhythm, a bit of a stride. And sadly, it's come too late in the season when the goals don't really mean anything. But yeah, it was good to see good finishes from the best striker that we've had since Robbo. I'm going to be devastated to see him leave. I won't lie. I'll be absolutely devastated to see him leave. The hate that he gets, I find it absolutely astonishing, purely because he's a Rangers fan. That's all it is. There's nothing else. It's nothing else. It's because he's a Rangers fan. You look at the amount of comments on Kickback of people calling him a fat hun or whatever. It's disgraceful. It's actual disgusting for a guy that's got 65 or whatever it is goals in 3 seasons for Hearts. He's our joint top European goal scorer. He's the first person to score 50, the quickest to 50, and that's played for Hearts since the war or something. I'll be really sad, really sad to see him go. And that's no defending. He's been poor, really poor this season at points, but no poorer than anybody else. But the abuse that he gets is incredible.
I just didn't get that. Like, okay, fair enough, he might be a Rangers fan. Who actually cares? Like, do you actually give a shit? Because I genuinely don't care. Like, we're paying his wages. He's trying his best, albeit he's had a crap season. Fair enough. Like, we're not going to labour that point. But, like, I couldn't give less of a fuck about who he supports or not. Really couldn't give a toss. And I don't know why some folk just get bent out of shape about it. Like, grow up, man.
Paul Hartley was a mad Celtic fan. His brother's a mad Celtic fan and all that sort of stuff. No one seems to be that bothered about it, but I didn't get it. I don't get it. But there you go. That is what it is. We've got a weird fan base now. We've got a bit of a weird fan base when it comes to things like that.
Well, but I wouldn't listen to JKB for loving their money anyway, because the majority of people on Jambo's Kickback aren't actually Hearts fans. So
yeah, well, that's true.
That's
true. Anything else happen in the game that caught your eye?
Just that the young lad that was behind the what was Ross County's goal in the first half got himself a late or early Christmas present with James Forrest's shot that went roughly about 2.5 miles. Oh, Christ almighty. I think that was the hardest thing he could have done, was actually knock it over the stand. Never mind, actually. It was easier to score. But anyway.
That was the most Hearts thing ever, wasn't it?
Oh, 100%.
Remember the John Smith's advert they had? Was it the was it Peter Kay that used to be in it? That was what it was like, wasn't it? None of this fancy modern football pish. Toe poke it 9 foot over the bar. Get on with it, man. Get on with it.
I could not let it go. Fucking hell.
Okay. Any comments or discussions on YouTube before we wrap it up when we do predictions for is it Motherwell we play on Saturday?
Oh, sorry, I sent you a private message saying I was going for a tam and I forgot to switch it back to the others. There's hundreds of comments there. Sorry, folks. I've done a total tam.
See, he actually did turn into tam. He needed the P after 35 minutes and then he forgot that you existed.
Tam too.
Sorry, guys. But then it's also about balance. I'll just say I'm not going to distract Corbett for his stride. So,
I know. I see my dad flash up at one point and I was like, fuck that. I'm ignoring him. Didn't even know what he said. I seen something about politicians and then just patched
There's Corbett back on screen for you there.
I've got a question for you, Corbett.
See if anybody wonders why my partner's so shite. There you go. There's Corbett Senior. There's Corbett Senior showing me exactly why.
Did you hear?
Yes, Kev.
Did you hear Glasgow Jambo or Jambo Glasgow, whatever he was? Was he happier with your performance on the pod last week?
I've not heard back from him. He says he doesn't listen to the podcasts, so we don't know. We were absolutely shower of positivity last week and he missed it.
Exactly.
No doubt he'll tune back in next week when we lose 15-0 or whatever it is to Motherwell and put us back in mathematically in danger of finishing in the 11th spot in the league. I'm sure he'll love it when, like I said, we employ Derek McInnes, fire him after 4 months, and then bring back Robbie Nielsen for the 3rd instalment. Robbie Nielsen, this time it's personal.
I've seen the meme going about it's funny. But
luckily the tax man's probably going to help us out because my understanding is that he's not going to take a job just now because of the way that taxis work in America and then coming back to the UK. So we might be able to dodge that bullet for a bit. But there you go.
Good. I'm not wanting you to turn into Nostradamus and everything that you bloody think about, or even just a wee thought in your head somehow becomes true because you've got form for that shit. So
I'll get up completely. If Robbie Nielsen walks back, I'll get up. I swear to God, I'm getting up. I'll be on the pitch every week at Falkirk. You'll see me as the Falkirk, whatever it is. The Falkirk Fox or something, whatever it is. You've got like a mad squirrel hanging.
The Falkirk hot tub.
I don't know. I'll be in them all. I'll be absolutely. I'll just ski out of football completely.
It'll be an interesting question as to where your allegiances will lie next season when we are playing Falkirk.
Well, that's never changed. Whenever they're playing Hearts, it'll be Hearts, and then everybody else, it'll be whoever he's playing against. That's never changed.
Me too. I'm jumping on that bandwagon and all.
That's never changed. That's if he signs there. That's if he stays there or wherever. But that's for my Falkirk Burns podcast. I'll keep that for them. I met you in Cameron on Friday night, and he's an absolute wank. If anybody never knew that.
Who's that? Sorry,
you and Cameron, the guy for Real Radio.
Oh yeah, am I?
An absolute helmet. But there you go. That shouldn't surprise you. Honestly. Right. If there's nothing else, let's do predictions for Saturday then. Motherwell at home, battle for the prestigious 7th spot in the top, the bottom 6. Sorry, Kev. What's your prediction? What's your feelings?
Play players in their right positions, and we shouldn't have an issue with regards to Motherwell. So I'll take a 1-1. Thanks.
Ando.
I don't know what I'm basing this on. Hearts 3, Motherwell 0. I think there's a score coming.
Did Liam Fox? Did he won? What games was he the manager in the league, or was it just the Dynamo Minsk game?
No, he was manager for a couple, wasn't he? Give me a second to
Aberdeen away, where we lost 3-2. The Dynamo Minsk game, of course, was the game before that. And I think he took charge of...
Did he take the St Mirren 4-0 at home?
No, that was Crouchley's first game.
Ross County draw at home 1-1. Dynamo Minsk, Aberdeen away 2-3 loss, 3-2 loss. And then technically was in charge for the testimonial match against Wraith Rovers. So it's 3 competitive games.
Right. So he needs, if he gets a win, it'll keep him mid-table in the Fox League. Then
in the Fox League.
That's what we need. That's what we need. I think at home. I don't know if we said it in the pod last week or whatever, that I wasn't surprised to see Hearts perform away from Tynecastle. Whenever we're in these ruts, the team kind of look like they absolutely detest playing at Tynecastle because of the atmosphere and how demanding we are as a crowd. So it'll be interesting to see if Fox can get a reaction from them at home, put on a bit of a performance in what will be the penultimate home game of this season. So I'm going to say 2-0 to Hearts. Shankland win them both. A bit of a comfortable home game for us. Right, anything else on YouTube, comments or questions before we wrap up, Ando?
No, not much. San Francisco Jambo's just landed in Charlotte. Hope you had a safe flight. Wondering if we had any new manager news. Kev's just bamming him up in the chat, being a complete tit. And then
Any slander?
the rest of it is just odd comments here and there. But I think that's it.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it as always. If Hearts appoint a manager at some point this week or before we play Motherwell, we will jump on the podcast and we'll get a broadcast out for you or whatever. But yeah, thanks everybody. Have a good night.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Gorgaroos.